on a Wednesday night on November 12th. So hop on in, say hello. Wanted to talk about some of the devices I have coming up, some of the things that I have going on, and just see what you all have going on this evening. And kind of talk about some of the frustrations with some of these new devices. Just as they're coming into the channels, I'm starting to go through them, but also some of the things that really have me excited about them. And, it's been a real change with me having these devices in. I do have the TCL NXTPAPER 60 Ultra. That one came in earlier this week, and it's been with me a couple of days. I went ahead and unboxed it. I uh, have done part of the video for the unboxing. Ran into a snag, reached out to the company because it doesn't work on my wireless network. So the idea being, can I really test it and use it as a phone, or am I primarily going to have to test this out as something that is a companion device? And is it really made for that? Is it something that would work for that? I will tell you, I'm very impressed with the different modes. Just out of the gate, the idea that it has those three different ink modes. It has one that's kind of a color e-paper simulation. Then it has a black and white monochrome e-paper simulation, and then it has one of the what they call the max ink mode, which is the one that's supposed to mimic really distraction free. Hey Aaron, good to see you. Thanks for joining. And Alex, great to see you as well. Hopefully you're having a great night. I am. Thank you very much. Just jumped on for an impromptu live stream. Melissa ran out to get Gabriel from work and just wanted to pop in and say hello, talk a little bit about the next paper, the TCL next paper, uh, 60 Ultra. I was saying when I first logged on that the biggest thing is going to be uh, that it doesn't work on my phone network. Very similar to the Palma. It's gonna be a little bit of both, Aaron, so it's not this is not e-ink. It is compelling, though. I'm interested in it. I reached out to TCL and I asked them, "Is there a way to get this working on my network? Are they in the process of certifying it?" I use Xfinity, which is off of the Verizon network, so it's one of the biggest providers in the US, and a lot of people are using that. And why they don't have certification for it, I don't know. And I know that David at Tablet Tech has had a similar issue with the Palma, because we neither one of us can get our SIM cards to work in the Palma. I mean, it's recognized. The problem is it won't allow data or cell phone connectivity with this device or with the Palma on the Verizon network. And when I reached out to Xfinity, they said that it's just not compatible. But I will tell you that I know this is not ink, uh, but it's a pretty neat experience. And I've seen Kit use it before. Sorry, I was unlocking it. And this, of course, is its distraction free mode. So I'll turn it a little bit so it doesn't get the light on it. But and of course, it's got that animation, so when I press it again, it's gonna turn to the regular mode here. And, it's a little gimmicky as far as the animation itself, but I will tell you it's also really cool. And then, of course, you've got your 3 modes. And so you can do the color paper mode, and you'll watch it'll switch here. And so it mimics a color e-ink tablet. Now, again, it's not exactly the same thing by any stretch, but it is easier on the eyes. I will give them that. And then, of course, you can take it out of that mode and jump back over. And each time it does that little animation. And then for the regular e-ink mode, the paper mode, show this one. you're going to see it's going to go monochrome. And with that matte texture, it really is a nice, decent phone for what it is. And it has the built-in, if you buy the cover anyway, it has the stylus that's built in, very similar and reminiscent to the S Pen, and it's magnetic when you get it close enough. So it's interesting. I really would like to test drive it as a phone. That was kind of my intention in getting this, was to test drive it as an actual phone and see if it could replace something like my tablet or like my S25. So hold on just a second. Let me pop up. There's a lot of chat coming in. Thank you all for joining me. I really appreciate it. So Jay says, no, Aaron, it's sort of weird LCD. Jay, that might be the best description ever of this thing, but I'm not disliking it. I just really wish that it had would work with the SIM card. It says some of these new devices just won't work with US SIM cards, but it's not that, Aaron, and I think that's what's interesting. It, David got the Palma to work on AT&T, I believe it was. He had an old AT&T SIM card. T-Mobile doesn't seem to be a problem at all with these devices. So it seems to be primarily either AT&T and T and Verizon or Verizon that are the issue. I even looked into setting it up on Mint, and it said that the phone was compatible. So I don't know exactly what the issue is. And Jay says, let's see here, they will. It just has to be not Verizon. And I know people are using this successfully in the US. Yeah, it's really interesting why why not Verizon? I don't understand. It's one of the biggest players in the market. And I get that there's probably some licensing. It's probably some of Comcast's fault or Verizon's fault. I get all of that. But if you're wanting to sell to the market, I would hope you would wanna dive in and get at least the major carriers on your side, and you would pay for that compatibility or that licensing to do that, because you're gonna lose a segment of the market, because Verizon not only now operates through Verizon proper, but through Xfinity, which is Comcast, and that's a huge cost savings for me, at least as a consumer, to have my cell phone included with my internet. And I know Spectrum Internet does a similar thing to Comcast with Xfinity. So I don't understand um, that logic why you would launch a phone, especially the way this one's marketed with also being vision friendly and eye friendly. And Jay, I don't know if you'd hopped on already, but the modes are actually really cool. And I really like the max ink mode because you can only pick 7 apps and you can really use that as a distraction free. I could see myself turning that on at work, having my 7 apps that I'm just going to deal with while I'm at work. And then when I'm done, go ahead and turn everything else back on. It just makes it really easy to set up. And even the color paper, which they call it, or the color, I think it's color ink. Let me look now. Mode that they call it is pretty cool. So there's max ink mode, there's ink paper mode, and there's color paper mode. Those are the three. And the color paper mode basically turns it almost into something that mimics uh, like a gallery 3 or something like that. So the colors are more muted and it allows you to be able to see it without as much flash or anything in the background. The ink paper takes a black and white monochrome, and then the Max Ink takes away everything but your reader apps and a few other things. And writing on it actually is pretty comfortable with this matte screen protector. Like I said, my biggest disappointment so far, and I've reached out to TCL, so we'll see what they say, because they actually reached out to me this morning and they said, "Hey, we saw you had the device delivered. When do you plan on getting a video out?" And I said, "Well, I plan on trying to get one out pretty soon, but here's my problem. My problem is I can't connect this thing as a phone." And it's a beautiful design. I mean, I like this camera bump on the back. I like the case. I like the way you can hide the stylus. So far, I'm not disliking this phone at all. It's a much bigger screen than my S25. And like I said, the ink modes actually look better because if I go into my S25, and we'll see if this shows on camera. So I'll go into sleep mode here. And in sleep mode, I turn it on their version of a grayscale. And it's just not as good looking as it is on this matte device. And I don't know what that could be and what the reasoning could be behind that. So, I mean, I've even set my phone up at night to go into sleep mode, minimize distractions, go into do not disturb, all those other things. But I'm not 100% sure why. Well, drop things down in the comments or in the chat. Also, if you're a Discord member, I've got a link if you want to join live for a little bit, and we can chat. You can pop over there and hit that join live button or that join live link, and hopefully it'll let you come in. But, what are some other questions you have? Would you be interested in something like this? I know we've talked, and Aaron made a good point during his live stream on Saturday about anything can be distraction free. And I agree. You can set anything up to be distraction free, but there is something to be said about intentional use and being able to make things do that almost by default. And I think that's kind of a where this shines a little bit in the way it works is this gives you that preset automatically. So it limits it to 7 apps. And in that case, is that really something that would appeal to you? To me, it kind of does because I can be really intentional about what those apps are. And let's see here. Alex put in I'm also waiting for it to be available in the US. Yeah, I mean, it's not for sale yet in the US, and Jay's mentioned that several times, and I'm not really sure why. Maybe it's because they're trying to wait for all the carriers. That could be part of it. I mean, maybe they do have something in with Xfinity where they're trying to or not Xfinity, but with Verizon, who is what Xfinity runs on, to try and get that done before they release the phone over here. Again, though, I don't know what the holdup would be, whether it's some kind of licensing. But for me, why why they just don't go ahead and release it? Because there's a lot of people on AT&T, on T-Mobile, on these other plans that could go ahead and at least purchase it and have it as a viable option. So I don't know. Um, but I am curious, any of you who may be interested in that idea of a curated, semi-curated experience to help you decide, okay, I need to cut myself down to 7 apps. What are those going to be? What are the most important things to me while I'm in this mode? Phone calls, yes. Text messages, yes. And then some of the other components that go along with that. And reading, obviously, I think would be a really good one. And let's see. Jay says they must be waiting for FCC approval. That's the only conceivable explanation for why they're sending it to US YouTubers. Maybe. I think that yeah, I can't imagine another explanation, quite frankly, Jay, but then again, the Palm is available already, and it's having the same issue with the data. One thing that I've been real reticent or real hesitant to do is add another plan. I don't want a Mint Mobile plan. I don't want a Google Fi plan. I don't want an AT&T plan. I I want to stay on my network. So it's been really difficult for me to justify whether or not I can add these and review them as using mobile data for the Palma or using this as a phone because it requires an extra expense of adding another plan that I just don't need. And quite frankly, that I don't want. And Aaron says, let's see here. With Apple, I can do something similar that allows me to have a few profiles for whatever mode I need. Yeah, and Aaron, I 100% agree with you, and I don't think that that's not the argument I'm making. Samsung allows me to do that too. I just showed the sleep mode. I can limit apps on that. I can change up profiles. I can do a bunch of different things. The nice thing about this is it's a preset. So when you go into that max ink mode, it automatically gives you 7 apps as your max. So I don't have to think about it as far as taking things off or disabling things or going into some convoluted setup process. I just go in and select and add the apps that I want to have on there. And then if I want to change those at some point, I can do it, but it curates that a little bit to make it a little bit easier. And Aaron says, and it will set that profile across all devices. Yeah, I mean, Apple has a great ecosystem. You're never going to hear me say otherwise. And quite frankly, Samsung has a great ecosystem. I love my Samsung devices. Every time I think about switching to either the Pixel or going back to the iPhone, I end up going, nah, maybe not. I like my Samsung. The first real one that I've been kind of excited about is actually this device right here because it has what I would consider to be a unique UI that fits in with my idea of intentional technologies. And I think that that's the nice part of it. I can choose between those different viewing options of whether I just want to get rid of the high contrast, vibrant color for what I'm doing, but still have color, whether I want to go completely monochrome and have all of my apps available, or whether I want to go into that max ink mode and limit my experience further. Having those presets, I think, is kind of cool. And I don't think it's mutually exclusive. And anybody who knows may be able to correct me if I'm wrong, that I could still do the profile thing, that I could still set things up independently. Um, and Aaron says, yeah, Apple does the same thing, and that doesn't surprise me at all. And then let's see here. And Aaron says he hates his Z Fold. I actually really enjoyed my Z Fold when I had it. The problem was I found out all I was using it for was watching YouTube and gaming. I really didn't use it in much for anything else. I mean, I used it as my phone when I had it as my phone, but I didn't use it in that folded out mode except for YouTube and video games. And the video games I play, I just didn't need it. And let's see here. Uh HS Insay. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but ask which Z Fold you have. And then 7, the iPhone Air, more due to the slim size. Oh, you like your Z Fold 7, but use the iPhone Air more because of the size. Yeah, the iPhone Air is interesting. I saw MKBHD put something out, or Waveform. It was the Waveform podcast was talking about they were hitting less than 10% of their initial goal on the iPhone Air. So I'm kind of curious what their initial target was, and that was kind of the point they were making. But, it looks like a really good device, but I think you do sacrifice the battery life and some of the other things. And Jay pops in, says, "It's funny because the screen is the main selling point of this device. They act like the pen is an afterthought, except the pen and combo of vanilla Android is the thing." Hold on just a second, let me get back to that. Is the thing I'm actually excited about. Actually, I mean, I know they kinda act like the pen is an afterthought because you have to buy the case to get that, and I was lucky that they sent me both, but at the same time, they were really intentional about the way they did the pen, and of course, we'll go into the max ink mode here. But with the pen, it reminds me very much of the Hideaway pen that you had on the Note series or on that special case with the Z Fold. And I do like, if you watch here, if I get to a certain point, it gets pulled in. So it's magnetic pulling it back up in there. And so they really thought the case out well, unlike the Palma, which there's nowhere to put the stylus. To me, that's a true afterthought. For this, they said, yeah, the pen's optional. You don't have to have it. You could just have the phone, and it's a fully functional phone. But if you do use the pen, we're going to make it a full package, and we're going to make it so that that pen hides really nicely inside your case. So that's a good point though, Jay. I mean, that's why I was excited about it, was because it's functional. And we see too much form over function, and I really like that they did that. Um, and Jay says, because I'm rapidly starting to hate the S23 Ultra. I'm on the regular S25. This would be a huge size upgrade for me, because I went back to the smaller phones a while back because I just didn't see the utility in writing on them. But the way this is constructed, I could actually see that as something I would use. Um, Aaron says he loves the iPhone Air. I know, I loved your review on that, by the way. And then we've got another comment. It's pronounced Sensei. Okay, thank you. Perfect. Mr. Miyagi and the Karate Kid. I couldn't tell because of the H. It had me kind of thrown, but thanks for correcting me on that. Um, and then Mr. Media, Aaron says, actually have both the 17 Air and the Premix 17, and I enjoy the Air more. The Premix, are you talking about the Pro? Um, so let me know. And then let's see here. And then Sensei says, I can't write on the S25 Ultra, but I enjoy the remarkable Paper Pro move for my calendar and note taking. Yeah. Yeah. But see, that's what's really compelling about this device, because the Remarkable doesn't have a calendar app and it doesn't have the built in calendar, which is why I actually like the Books Palma a little bit. But this actually is full on Android and has that different writing feel. And since it's EMR, I could use any pen I want. Yes, I can use the built-in stylus on the go and if I'm in a pinch, but I could also write on this with any of my other EMR pens and it would work. And I think that's the beauty of it, is that it's able to do that. Yeah, the Pro Max, Aaron. Thank you. I thought that's what you meant, but I wasn't sure. And I couldn't think of the name off the top of my head. And Jay says the 7.1-inch screen on this device strikes me as a portable note taker, or perfect portable note taker size. Yeah, I mean, I think it really could be good in a pinch. I mean, you all know me. I'm not a huge small device person. I'm really considering looking at the Nomad again, because that 7.8-inch form factor was nice for me. Um, yeah, this is Sensei. This is the Next Paper, or TCL Next Paper Pro Ultra. Okay, TCL Next Paper 60 Ultra. So that's the name of this device. Sorry about that. It kind of got me tongue tied. Uh, And then David Paxton pops in and says, the iPhone Air is the best phone ever. I love thin and light. A lot of people do love it. And I think it's going to be one of their bigger hits. But they are saying it's slower. So Aaron says, after using more e-ink tablets, I'm really revisiting how I use e-ink and what I need in a paper replacement. Yeah, I've noticed a pivot with you, Aaron, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. The move is great, and I've really been using it as a note taker. But it is funny, and let me grab this comment, and then I want to address something that Aaron said. Next paper is also EMR. It's hand-von, so the frequencies aren't quite right. Most Wacom pens. Oh, hold on just a second. Most Wacom pens won't work on it, but I think using hand-von was a cost move for them. Huh, that's interesting, because I saw somebody write on it with the Norris and it seemed to be okay, but I'll do some testing. I mean, I've only had it out of the case a couple of days. And Sensei says, I want to buy a Nomad for Christmas to compare to other devices. I'm new to e-ink. Nomad's a great little device. Um, and Jay hates thin and light. But I do want to pop back really quick to what Aaron said, because I've noticed a shift in his thought process. And Aaron, correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the biggest reasons you were a fan of the WeWoods AI Paper Mini was that they had the best calendar app in the game, and they do. I think Supernote's a close second, and I think now that they're in the process of revamping their calendar app, it's only going to get better. But I really think that it's going to be, uh, but with the Remarkable, you're giving up all of that. So with the Remarkable, all you have is a pure note taker with templating and some reading functionality. So no apps, nothing you can even sideload. I mean, I think you can technically root the device, and Jay has mentioned that before. So you could do some things with Linux that you can't do on some of the other platforms, but that's a high level of that. And it sounds to me like Aaron's really enjoying using this as a note taker, as a paper replacement. And that, I think, is the real compelling discussion. I still personally think it's overpriced for what it is. It's too small for me, but we'll see. I mean, I've also said that I might be able to make something like this or the Palma work in a pinch. I don't see the Palma being that way, quite frankly. It's just too small. Uh, Jay says, OMG, Ed, if the Norse works, beware because it might have to drive up to Indiana and throw you a party. You know what, my friend? You can drive up to Indiana anyway. I would be just fine with that. But let me look, and I'm curious now. I'm gonna see. I don't have the notes app listed, so I'll have to get out of ink mode. But I'm gonna just check and see if the writing experience is there. Uh, and I won't be able to show this on camera. I don't have the top down shot. I'm gonna go into my test note here that I had started with. And let me go ahead and hit the ink button. And well, got something on my pen here. All right, so hit the ink button. Oh, it's got something else going on here. Oh, I got to hit that. There we go. Nope. Sorry, I'm still getting used to the device itself. So there we go. No, you're right, Jay. It looks like it's having issues writing with the Stadler. Yeah. So you were right, my friend. I'll have to check it out with some different EMR pins and see if it works, but it is not working with the Norris Digital Jumbo. So that'll teach me to doubt you when it comes to this. So, but that's good to know. I do know that it's, billed as EMR. I could have swore I saw Kit use it, but I'll do some more testing and figure it out. Let's see here. Aaron says, because I always have two phones and an iPad with me, so I don't need the calendar on e-ink. Yeah. And I think that that makes a big difference. WeWoods is a great, WeWoods Daily is great for me, but I don't need it. Yep. And then the move for what I use it for is perfect for my meeting and just writing down my thoughts. I am curious how that works with you were exporting meeting notes, and that's not something you can do natively on Remarkable. So I'd be curious to hear how that's changed. Uh, and then you said you still use the Books platform for heavy lifting, and I would agree that Books and Supernote are the premier devices. I don't think there's anybody better. Um, and I just don't think the gaps I don't think it's even close. I've seen a lot of reviews of the AI Note. GraphX Tech dropped one today. I'm not sure if it was sponsored or not. He didn't say so, so I'm thinking he may have gotten the device without having to sign anything. I know that they're supposed to be sending me one. But again, until you put it through its paces and see what it's actually capable of, it's very hard to compare directly. And Jay says, I just have to find another party reason, I guess. Like I said, you don't need a reason. There's always a party in Northwest Indiana. But and I really appreciate all of you jumping on. I'll have to jump off here in a couple of minutes, but I wanted to jump on, do a quick live, give you a little bit of an update on what's going on. Um, and Sensei says, is the Supernote U slower in UI when compared to the Remarkable? I don't know. I don't have a direct comparison. I wouldn't think so because it's got more RAM, it has more storage, and it's also, unless you're talking about the Remarkable 2, uh, it doesn't have gallery or color, so there's no flashing, there's nothing like that involved. Uh, and Aaron says the Remarkable app is good. Handwriting conversion or just moving notes is so easy. Yeah, and Aaron, I'm telling you, I know that I know that you've not been big on um, the Supernote app, but it's right there, man. It is so close to the Remarkable app as far as functionality, and it doesn't cost you anything. And I think that if they revamp this calendar the way that I think they're doing it, they haven't said anything to me about what they're doing. I think it's gonna just eclipse the Remarkable app because they're optimizing their syncing process in the background. If they do that, I think that Remarkable's foothold on the best app is gonna either be just equal to or eclipsed by the Supernote partner apps because the way they've integrated the digest, the way they've now entered the text note entry phase on the device, if they bring that to the app, and you can already do that in the digest, you can already add text directly in the digest from the partner apps and copy and paste directly into the digest. If they allow you to start doing that in notes, I think it's a game changer. I really do. And again, then you add to the fact that you can sync with your Google Calendar and all of the enhanced note-taking tools that Remarkable just doesn't have, and it really puts Supernote and books, as Kit would say, streets ahead or miles ahead in the US vernacular when it comes to functionality and organizational features. Of course, that's my opinion. Alex says, I love the screen size of the TCL phone. How's the reading on it? Can you actually tell the difference in blue light compared to your Galaxy phone? Yes, I can. I haven't read for long. I've only had it open a few days, and I'm waiting to hear back from them about the phone compatibility because to me that's really important. But I will tell you that there is a noticeable difference when you put this into max ink mode or into those other different modes for reading. Is it as good as e-ink? No. Is it e-paper? No. I think that's a misnomer. But is it much better than my Samsung as far as readability? I would say yes. Just in a first pass, I would feel more comfortable reading on this phone, especially with the way its light sensors work and the light around you, than I would on my Samsung. David Paxton says, I love the iFly Tech AI Note 2, but between books and the AI Note 2, the remarkable move, I am good. And then uh, Aaron says that's what makes remarkable good. You can copy and paste directly into notes. Yeah, and I think that's coming, quite frankly, Aaron, on Supernote. I really do. I think they started it with the digest because you can copy and paste directly into the digest. And to be honest, you can one thing Supernote does have that Books doesn't have is native Word document, or not Books, that, Remarkable has. And so you could open a document, a doc file on your Supernote and then copy and paste directly into that Word doc file using the app. You just open from the app and hit save, and it goes back into where it's stored in the app. And you can basically just continue from one device onto the other using documents. So their documents, instead of having a text note, they have a document. And then for their text inserts into notes, those are a little bit different, but I think that's the path they're headed down. I mean, personally, I think that's where they're going. Um, and let's see here. I missed a little bit of chat, so let me pop back up here. It says also you can move Word docs directly on the device. Well, yeah, you can do that with Supernote, but Supernote's the only one that I know of that creates document files natively. So when you create that document on the Supernote, it is a Word document. So then when you go to open it, it's fully compatible on your device with Word without having to move that way, and it syncs. And it's, I think Remarkable does some of that, but there's no way that I'm aware of to actually edit a Word document on Remarkable. I think you have to edit their note files, but jump in and correct me if I'm wrong on that. Because I don't know. I don't own a Remarkable. So for me, that's just different. Alex says, David Paxton, how's the screen on the Ink Note 2 or AI Note 2? The screen looks nice and slick. Uh, and Aaron says the Reader app is just a big miss. On the Remarkable, yeah, it's a huge miss. Uh, wow. And David says the AI Note 2 that it's the best he's ever used, including WeWoods. That's interesting. So well, anything else? I'm getting ready to hop off, folks, but I just, I really appreciate the engagement. I appreciate you all jumping on, jumping into the chat, having the discussion. We've had over 37 messages. So you all have really just been popping in there, and I appreciate it. I will let you know what I find out about this device. Like I said, I'm really excited with what it is, even though it's not e-ink. But at the same time, I don't know whether I can get it to work. Um, and Aaron says the AI Note 2 looks great. It does. I'm just really leery about it until I see, uh, well, David at Tabletech. So his review made me, or his unboxing, excuse me, his unboxing and first impressions made me have a little bit more confidence in it. And then Graphics Tech, if that's an unsponsored review as well, because again, I'm not against sponsored reviews, but I would rather see someone who really gives a detailed pro con. And that's what I'm waiting for. And I think David started to do that with his walkthrough of the device. Graphics Tech talked about quite a bit there. Um, but until we get more of that content out, the sales pitch is what some of the others feel like. And even if it was sponsored and there was a very uh, distinct, here's the pros, here's the cons, I would be fine with that. But so far, they felt like a lot of talking points on some of them. I know Jeff Moss has his Kickstarter coming with it, and then hopefully I'll get mine. I'd love to see it in the hands of Voya and in the hands of Kit. And I really wish they would send these out and get that going there. Um, Sensei, thank you. It's always nice to get a new subscriber. I appreciate it. Well, I mean, I try to be honest. I mean, I think Aaron will tell you I don't have any problem at all with sponsored reviews. I just want them to be honest about it. And if I'm ever sponsored to do anything, I will tell you. Right now, I've never been sponsored. I've been approached, but whenever they have done that, they always sit there and try to uh, control the narrative, and I just can't do that. Well, anyway, everybody, thank you so much. Have a great night. I've got to hop off, but thank you very much, and I will talk to you soon. Until next time, you just keep on moving forward, and we will talk to you later. Bye now.